Alice?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you say your last name, Alice?
Alice, yes.
Ms. Alice, I'm Judge Sara Smolenski, and I have you in front of me on a case that they're saying happened a couple of days ago at the Kennedy Floral Store, the one on Cascade Road in Grand Rapids Township. They're charging you with retail fraud first degree, that while the Kennedy Floral Store was open to the public, they're alleging that you stole property from the store that was offered for sale at a price of $200 or more, but less than $1,000. They're also saying that you had a prior conviction for a retail fraud second out of the 58th District Court, which is Ottawa County. So now they're constituting this charge as a retail fraud in the first degree. That's a felony. It's up to 5 years in prison and or $10,000 fine, or 3 times the value of the property stolen, whichever is a greater amount. This is called an arraignment. My name is Judge Sara Smolenski. I have you in front of me to hear what the charge is, what the possible penalties are, and what your rights are. You do have the right to remain silent, Ms. Alice. You don't have to say anything to anyone about what happened or any of the details. But if you do speak out about it, you say anything orally or you write it down in the form of a statement, it can be used against you in court, so be alert to that. You do have the right to have a lawyer present during any questioning that you'd consent to. And if you cannot afford to hire your own lawyer, the court will appoint a lawyer to represent you. You've got 2 appointments set up on your case. One is October 28 and one is November 4. Those are both Wednesdays. 2 weeks out from now and 3 weeks out from now. And they're both set at 8:30 in the morning. I'll be your judge. The first one is called the Probable Cause Conference, for you to meet your attorney, talk about the case, discuss things with the prosecutor as well, determining whether you need to have a preliminary exam, which is what they scheduled for the following Wednesday, November 4, 8:30 a.m. The prelim is where I get more involved because the judge gets to hear evidence, whether there's a crime committed, whether there's probable cause to believe you committed the offense. Now, is that Riverbed Lane apartment in Caledonia good?
No, my address is 224 44th Street.
And the 44th Street is an apartment or a house?
It's a house.
Is it considered Grand Rapids, or is that Kentwood or Wyoming, or what is that?
Wyoming.
And what's the zip code?
49548.
And do you live with any other people?
No, I do not.
Just on your own?
Yes.
Do you have cases in any other courts right now, Ms. Alice?
No, I do not.
Do you work outside the home?
I work at Cooper's Hawk Restaurant.
Where is that?
That is in Kentwood.
Okay. Now, Mr. Freeman Hanel is here from the Michigan Indigent Defense Council. He may have had a chance to talk to you very briefly ahead of time. Mr. Hanel, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Judge, I've spoke with Miss Alice. She has no other pending charges. She's being charged with an actual third. I'd ask the court to consider a personal recognizance for this young lady.
Okay. Yeah, the charge is a retail fraud first degree, which is the 5-year felony. And when I look at your prior record, going back to 2007, Ms. Alice, it looks like you have 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 4 or 5 cases, one being a felony, it looks like potentially. Did you live in Texas at any period of time?
Yes, I did.
And have you lived in Holland?
No, I have not.
Never lived in Holland. Do you have family? Do you have a support group? Do you have anybody you talk to?
Yeah, I do.
Like when you're locked up right now and you've been in custody since yesterday, do you call anybody or not?
I did call my daughter.
Is that an adult person?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the bond I'm setting right now is a $5,000 10% bond where we enter a plea of not guilty for you, and we ask that you report to court services No criminal activity, that goes without saying, I pretty much tell everybody that. And then also no contact with this Kennedy Floral. Can't be on their property. I don't know how many, if they have more than one shop, but don't go to any of their shops, and no contact with any of their employees, okay?
All right.
You'll get notification at your 44th Street address. You know the two dates. You know the two dates I gave you, October 28th, November 4th, both Wednesdays, 8:30 a.m. You're going to be zooming in, so be alert. Don't miss
Okay.
those dates. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Is it Christopher Bullisbauer?
Yes, ma'am.
So you say Bullisbauer.
Bullisbauer.
Bullisbauer. Is that Maywood address in Sparta good, Mr. Bullisbauer?
No, it's not.
What address do you go by?
3544 Windsor Woods Drive, Wayland, Michigan.
Okay, Windsor Wood
35
Drive is where?
Wayland, Michigan,
Yep, and what's the zip?
49348.
Okay, is it a house?
A trailer.
Okay, so they don't have to put any lot number, it's just 3544.
Yes, ma'am.
Windsor Wood Drive. So this is an arraignment, Mr. Bullisbauer, to hear what you're charged with, what the possible penalties are, what your rights are. I'm Judge Sara Smolenski. You got two separate 4-year felonies. One is called knowingly retaining, possessing, secreting, or using a financial transaction device without the consent of a Deborah Voss sometime between July 1, 2020 and yesterday. So for the better part of July, August, September, and October, a 4-month time period, they're actually charging you with two separate 4-year felonies of knowingly retaining, possessing, using, secreting a financial transaction device like a credit card, Visa, MasterCard, bank card, without the consent of a Deborah Voss, the person who's the actual device holder. Both charges stem from July 1 this year through yesterday, October 13, 2020, and they're both felonies. Possible penalty, Mr. Bullisbauer, 4 years in prison and or $5,000 fine. You have the right to remain silent. You don't need to say anything to anyone. If you choose to speak out, what you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to have a lawyer present during any questioning that you consent to. And if you cannot afford to hire your own lawyer, the court will appoint a lawyer to represent you. Now you got two appointments set up, October 28 and November 4. They're both Wednesdays, 2 weeks out and 3 weeks out from right now. They're both at 10:30 in the morning, and they're with my colleague, Judge Jeffrey O'Hara, here at the 63rd District Court at Knapp and the Beltline. But you'll be zooming in on the first appointment, October 28, 10:30 a.m. We'll get notification to you at Windsor Wood Drive as to how to do that and how you find out who your attorney is and everything like that. Do you have any questions for me so far?
No, ma'am.
Are you on probation or parole at all, Mr. Bullisbauer?
No, ma'am.
You've got a case with us that was a resisting and obstructing a police officer. Do you remember the case?
No, ma'am.
It goes back to November of 2018. A case that was in the Cedar Springs area, 17 Mile Road. And you were asked to do some community service. You had fines and court costs to pay. That case doesn't ring a bell at all.
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Do you have any mental health challenges, Mr. Bullisbauer?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you have kids?
No, ma'am.
Do you have parents?
Yes.
Do you stay in contact with them?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you live with them?
Yes.
Okay. Do your mom and dad know that you're in custody right now?
Yes.
Is this Deborah Voss not a person you're related to?
No, ma'am.
So that's not your
She's
mom,
just a
that's
friend.
not, okay, that's fine.
Just a family friend.
But your mom and dad do know that you're in jail right now.
Yes.
Do you have any memory of not taking care of that older case where you owed money for that resisting and obstructing a police officer?
Well, I was in the middle of moving.
Okay, it's been a while ago. It's been 2 years ago that happened. Did you think it was over?
I thought I'd made my payments.
Okay, we can look into that and you can talk to your attorney on this. So when you meet your attorney on this new case, you can talk to them about that. Mr. Freeman Hanel is here from the Michigan Indigent Defense Council to talk a little bit about your bond in the current case. Mr. Hanel?
Yes, Your Honor, I spoke with Mr. Bullisbauer. Tells me that, well, we didn't know that he had a settlement pending, but I don't believe he's a flight risk. I'd ask the court to set a low 10% bond.
Okay. I don't want you to have any contact with that person. If you do know her, that Deborah Voss, don't have any contact directly or indirectly. Can't call her, can't go to her house, can't go to where she works. Don't try to have any contact. We'll enter a plea of not guilty on the current case. It's 2 separate 4-year felonies. We'll just say not guilty on both. It's a $5,000, 10% bond on this case, not double, just altogether $5,000, 10% on both charges. That's the bond, one bond, $5,000, 10%. I am going to ask that you report to court services. They'll tell you how to do that. On your old case, it's a civil contempt where you'd have to post $516. That's what's owed. $516. So
Okay.
together with both cases, if you're going to get out of jail today or you're going to tell your mom and dad, it would be $1,016 to be released. Okay?
Okay.
Did you get fingerprinted since you've been arrested?
Yes, I did.
And your mom and dad do know where you are, right, Mr. Bullisbauer?
Yes, they do.
Okay, good. I just don't want them to be worried. Well, I'm sure they're worried, but I mean, like, don't know where you are. You know, they know where you are. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Head out the door over there. Hoarder?
Is it Mr. Dan Hoarder?
Yes.
Mr. Hoarder, I'm Judge Sara Smolenski. I think we've talked in the past, perhaps, maybe not. I'm not positive, but you have a retail fraud third case from June 12. This goes back 4 months ago at the Meyer in Cascade. We really call it the Cascade Meyer, but it's on 28th Street. Retail fraud third degree is a misdemeanor where they claim the Meyer was open to the public and that you stole property from the store that was offered for sale at a price of less than $200. It's a misdemeanor, up to 93 days in jail, up to $500 fine, or 3 times the value of the property stolen, whichever's greater. You can, Mr. Hoarder, plead guilty or not guilty, have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, have an attorney represent you. If you couldn't afford one, the court can appoint an attorney to represent you, to give you advice and counsel. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you currently on probation or parole?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So if you've had anything you didn't agree with, you'd have 3 weeks after being sentenced to appeal a case to the higher court. Any questions that you have for me?
No, ma'am.
When did you first hear about this shoplifting case? Did you know at all about it from June to now?
This one, never, nothing until today.
Okay. So it's the first time you're hearing about it.
Right.
Okay. I've got a case with your name on it, Mr. Hoarder, that's not a shoplifting case, but a driving while suspended, Northland Drive, 12 Mile Road, Rockford, Michigan, July 24, 2018.
Yes, I thought I'd
This
paid
is
that.
2 years. This is 2 years and 3 months. Now, did you just say you thought you paid it?
Yes, I thought I'd paid that off. Yes.
Well, there was no fine because you've never pled to it.
Okay.
Physically, you got the ticket. were told to come to court, made it
I
to
came
court
to-
on a couple of different dates. Yes, you were here. You gave us the Maywood address in Sparta. Is that still where you are?
No, it is not.
So what's the address now?
At the 3544 Windsor Woods.
Is that with somebody else that was just here?
Yes.
Who is that?
Christopher.
What's Christopher's last name? I saw him.
Bullisbauer.
So Mr. Bullisbauer and you live in the same place?
Yes.
And did he tell me that was Wayland, or where is that?
Yeah, that's in Wayland.
Huh. Well, I didn't see that the dates of his case were the same dates of your case. I don't know if
Yeah,
they
they're-
are or not.
Right, they're not.
Okay, they're different. So then it's not, we don't call it co-defendants. Well, I'm just saying this old driving suspended case, you've never dealt with it. You showed up. You pled not
Okay.
guilty. You gave us the Maywood address. But somehow
Right.
you thought you paid it.
Yeah,
You met
I
with the
thought
prosecutor? You met with the
Yep.
prosecutor? A woman by the name of Angela Curtis? They talked about you still working on getting your driver's license? She
Yep,
met with
I-
you October 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden, we never heard of you again. Didn't know
Right.
if you moved to Florida, didn't know anything. So here's what I'm saying. You got two misdemeanors that are old. One's really old, 2 years old, driving suspended. One's, 4 months ago old. That you're saying you never knew anything about the shoplifting charge, which I'll believe you. I'm not saying you did. I'm going to give you a PR bond on both of them, $500 PR bond on both of them, but I'm telling you, neither case is done. Think what you want about you paid a fine or whatever. There was no fine because there was never a plea on the case.
Yeah.
What I'm asking you to do is address both cases when you get your date to show up or to zoom in so we can deal with these tickets that you have outstanding. If you miss calling in, they're going to arrest you and hold you. I just have to be as clear as I can be.
Okay.
All right, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. The answer on that other question is yes, Amanda. I wrote it on the other file. Samantha Hughes?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Judge Sara Smolenski, and I have you in front of me for what's referred to as a retail fraud second degree from the Walmart on Alpine Avenue. They're saying this was a few days ago on October 10, and that while the Walmart was open to the public, you did steal property of the store that was offered for sale at a price of $200 or more, but less than $1,000. It's a misdemeanor, 1 year in jail, and or up to $2,000 fine, or 3 times the value of the property stolen, whichever is greater. Now, you can plead guilty or not guilty. You can have a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You can have an attorney represent you. If you cannot afford an attorney, the court can appoint one for you. Then you pay the expense of a court-appointed attorney. You'd have the right to have a trial where you could bring in witnesses, cross-examine witnesses, take the stand yourself, be a witness if you wanted to. If you chose not to, your silence cannot be held against you. And you have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, Ms. Hughes, can you think of any questions that you have for me?
No, ma'am.
Are you on probation or parole?
No.
Do you have cases in any other courts?
Currently I have one. I'm not sure which court it.
Okay, probably
other
wouldn't
one
be
was-
mine. Probably wouldn't be mine, or they'd be pulling it out and have me
No,
talk to
and
you
it
about it.
happened like at the same time. They charged me with both at the same time.
Oh. Well, if it's the location at Walmart Alpine, that would be ours. But if it's something else, just look into it. When you talk to your attorney on this, just look into it. They can look into it and tell you
Okay.
exactly what it is.
Okay.
If there was something you wanted to appeal, you're given 3 weeks to appeal to a higher court, that's circuit court. Is the Buttercup Lane address in Traverse City where you live?
No.
So what address do you go by now?
5180 West Mobile Trail. And it's
West
Traverse City.
Mobile Trail?
Yes.
Where is it?
Traverse City.
Okay, and what's the zip code?
49685.
And is there any kind of a special number other than 5180 West Mobile Trail?
No, no, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so, have you talked with anybody about being in custody? Like, does anybody, like, you're in Grand Rapids, you must know people here.
Yeah, my dad lives in Holland, so I was staying with him, for the last, I don't know, I've been with him for like the last month. But
Have
I
you been
can't get a
able to
hold.
tell him? Have you been able to tell him you're in custody in Grand Rapids?
No, I haven't gotten in touch with him. I
By
haven't had a
choice,
way
or
to
you
get to
haven't
the
been able
phone.
to?
No, I haven't been able to get in touch with him. Like I tried to call a couple times and then I've been in
Okay.
lockdown other than that, but
Okay. Do you know what that other case is?
the same thing. It's a retail
A
fraud.
shoplifting?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the third.
Okay. Well, let's do this. I'll make it a $5,000 PR bond. I'm not gonna hold you. You'll be released from jail, but I can't be serious enough. You've got to address this case. Today we say not guilty. Don't go back to any Meijer store or Walmart. I'm sorry, Walmart. Don't go to any Walmart. And I'm just saying, if you ignore it, it's gonna be 10 times worse.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
don't ignore it. They'll tell you when to be in court. If you're staying with your dad and we're sending mail to Traverse City, you better be calling the court.
Okay.
Because you're not gonna get your mail in Traverse City if you're down here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Is it Victoria Schmidt?
Yes.
Ms. Schmidt, my name is Judge Sara Smolenski. I have you in front of me on an arraignment today for a charge called domestic violence, second offense. They're alleging that yesterday at the York Creek apartment, Alpine Township, that you made an assault or an assault and battery upon a Tony Thomas, an individual with whom you've had a dating relationship. They're saying that previously you were convicted of assaulting or assaulting and battering a spouse, former spouse, or an individual with whom you'd had a dating relationship. And they're talking about a case that goes back to October of 2018. So now they bump it up to domestic violence second offense, still a misdemeanor, up to 1 year in jail, up to $1,000 fine. Court costs can be on top of that. Do you have any questions about the charge itself, Ms. Schmidt?
No, Your Honor.
Are you on probation or parole right now?
No.
You can plead guilty or not guilty. You can have a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You can have an attorney represent you. If you cannot afford an attorney, the court can appoint one for you. And then you pay the expense of a court-appointed attorney. You'd have the right to have a trial where you could bring in witnesses, cross-examine witnesses, take the stand yourself. Be a witness if you wanted to. If you chose not to, your silence cannot be held against you. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So far, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
You're not on probation or parole anywhere. If there was anything you wanted to appeal, you're given 3 weeks after being sentenced to appeal to a higher court. Can you think of any questions you have for me at all, Ms. Schmidt?
No.
That apartment at York Creek or Yorkland apartment, do any children live there?
Yes, my 1-year-old son.
Is your 1-year-old son also the son of Tony Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Does that 1-year-old go back and forth to its other parent?
No, Your Honor. The other parent
Okay.
isn't involved.
Okay. So who has the child right now? Do you know?
My parents do.
Your parents? And are your
Yes.
parents in the greater Grand Rapids area?
No, they're in Ottawa County.
Okay. So while this case is pending, you can't go back to the York Creek. If that's an apartment, you can't go back to where you were living at 725 York Creek Drive, apartment 2. You can't have any contact with Tony Thomas. I'm saying while this case is pending, no contact with the address on York Creek, or just stay away from the whole York Creek apartments? No
Okay.
contact with this Tony Thomas. If you need to pick up clothing, toiletries, personal belongings, you have to get a police escort. You can't just go to
Okay.
the apartment to get your stuff. And I'm not talking about moving furniture, I'm talking about a duffel bag worth of stuff that you could stay at your mom and dad's or wherever
Okay,
you're gonna
yeah.
stay. Have you ever been arrested besides that other case before?
No.
Did you go to jail on that other case?
Yes, Your Honor.
So this is the second time you've been in jail in your life?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have a job?
Not right now.
Okay. So how do you pay for the York Creek apartment? Is that Mr. Thomas?
No, I have unemployment right now, and that's how I
So
pay
you
for
get
everything.
unemployment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you get any child support for your child?
I get $80 a month.
Uh-huh. That's
And that's all.
considered child support, isn't it?
Yes, Your Honor, yeah.
All right. Mr. Hanel is here from the Michigan Indigent Defense Council. He may have had a chance to talk to you briefly ahead of time. Mr. Hanel, what would you like to say, if anything, about Ms. Schmidt?
Your Honor, when I spoke with Ms. Schmidt, I advised her that she could not go back to the York Creek apartment. She understands all of that. It sounds like she successfully completed probation in her last offense. I don't know any of the facts of this case, but I think there's more to it than meets the eye. So I asked the court to grant to Ms. Schmidt a low 10%.
Okay. Ms. Schmidt, the bond that I'm setting in your case is $3,010%. That means $300. You'll have to get on the phone and see who can put up that money. Hopefully that's low enough that you can make it. No contact with the address, as I told you, at York Creek. No contact with this Tony Thomas, even if he wants contact. We'll enter a plea of not guilty. You stay in contact with the court. Your case will be notified. You'll be notified. And take it from there. If you have any questions, call the court.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, it's Ms. Alexis Cell. And we talked with you recently, Ms. Cell. I'm not really sure.
Yes, ma'am.
I talked to you very recently, and attorney Lindsay Dubus was your
Yeah.
attorney of record. And now they just picked you up yesterday for a bond violation. They're alleging that you made contact with that Morgan Staub and you weren't allowed to. That's really what this is about now, right?
Yeah.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Where?
Wendy's on 68th and Division.
Okay. Do you get full-time?
Yes.
Ms. Dubus contacted the court. She's not available today. She wants to address the bond violation at the prelim that you have set up on your other case that we were talking about originally, the resisting and obstructing a police officer felony, possession of drugs, Xanax charge.
I was never
probation-
even able to.
Never able to what?
I never even was able to read the police report either because she said that she was going to email it,
And you didn't get
and that's
it.
why that's why
Well,
the
you talked to
court date
her
got
about
pushed.
that. Yeah, you got to talk to her about that for sure.
Okay.
And we'll
I
give you
have no.
time to look it over. But here's my point. Today, I'm talking to you about a probation violation or a bond violation from yesterday when you weren't supposed to have contact with Morgan Staub and they're saying you tried to. That's a violation like a new criminal case. You can plead guilty or not guilty. Today, we'll just say not guilty on the bond violation so that you can talk further with Ms. Dubus about it.
Thank
We'll just
you.
say not guilty, but I am going to make your bond. It looks like on this case you posted. Well, you wouldn't have posted-
$2,500 cash.
Did you put 2,500 cash up?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that you or somebody else?
That was all my money. Lindsay, my boss, had to put it under her name because I believe there was 250 charge for it being on a card. But other than that, that was all my money that I posted.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
So it
money,
was
and
really
now I'm making
crappy.
it more, right? Now I make it 5,010% just on the bond violation, which is another 500. But I
Okay.
cannot emphasize enough how serious it is that you follow exactly what the court tells you. Because a lot of judges would not let you out of jail right now. So if you do post that money, you cannot have any contact directly or indirectly with Morgan Staub. Make sure you
Yes, ma'am.
follow it exact, because if you don't, you'll just be kept in custody.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Don't miss any of your appointments.
Yes, ma'am.
And get a hold of Ms. Dubus as soon as you get out. Is it Rebecca Walker?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Walker, I'm Judge Sara Smolenski. I have you in
Hello.
front of me on an incident that they claim was yesterday for a
Yes, ma'am.
possession of oxycodone and a retail fraud third at the Myers in Cedar Springs. The drug charge is the felony. It's called knowingly or intentionally possessing less than 25 grams of a mixture containing the controlled substance oxycodone. That's a felony, Ms. Walker, up to 4 years in prison and or $25,000 fine. And unless you are to be sentenced to more than 1 year in prison, the court shall impose a license sanction where you lose your driving privileges. The retail fraud third degree is a misdemeanor. They call it shoplifting. That while the Meijer was open to the public, they're saying you stole property from the store that was offered for sale at a price of less than $200. It's a misdemeanor. 93 days in jail, up to $500 fine, or 3 times the value of the property stolen, whichever is greater. Now, you have the right to remain silent, Ms. Walker. You don't need to say anything to anyone. But if you do choose to speak out, you got to know that what you say or what you write down can be used against you in court. You do have the right to have a lawyer present during any questioning that you'd consent to. And if you do not have the money to hire an attorney, the court would appoint a lawyer to represent you, because you have to have a lawyer on this felony drug case. Your 2 appointments are October 28 and November 4, both at 10:15 in the morning in front of my colleague, Judge O'Hara, here at the 63rd District Court. The first appointment is called a probable cause conference on October 28, where you and your attorney talk about the case and discuss it further, also with the prosecutor, and make a determination of whether you need a preliminary exam. The preliminary exam is set for November 4, the following Wednesday at 10:15 a.m. It's a hearing where the prosecutor has to present evidence to show, 1, that a crime was committed, 2, that there exists probable cause to believe you committed the offense. Now, can you think of any questions that you have so far for me?
No, ma'am.
Is the 1792 West 136 Grant, Michigan accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
So is 136 the number of the apartment?
No, it's a street. It's a rural.
So West 136 is a street or a drive or a road?
It's a street, West 136th Street.
Okay, put that down, Amanda, 136th Street. And it's Grant, Michigan. Whom do you live with?
My husband and my 3 children.
How old are the kids?
14, 12, and 7.
Wow. That's a lot. So you're pending sentence right now out of Newaygo County for a completely separate shoplifting case with them with multiple counts. You have an attorney on that?
Mm-hmm.
So you can talk to your attorney about that. But you have a date set where you're going to be seeing the judge in Newaygo, but you don't know yet?
I have a date set. It's for
Oh,
this
you have
month.
the
I think
date? You know the date? You just
I
don't
don't know
know what
the-
the decision's going to be.
yeah.
I think, Your Honor,
I don't know the exact
Go ahead.
date. I think it's
Your Honor,
All
I
right.
think the court services report said it was October 20th.
The 20th of October?
I
Okay,
believe
that's
so.
in a week. Yeah, that's in less than a week. All right, Mr. Hanel, why don't you go ahead and speak on behalf of Ms. Walker from the Michigan Indigent Defense Council?
Thank you, Your Honor. I did speak with Ms. Walker, and she was very polite, very forthcoming. I think with the 3 children, it's just, everything's been kind of overwhelming on her. I'd ask the court to set a low 10% bond.
Yeah.
She's probably gonna be.
Have you been able, okay, sure. I appreciate it, Mr. Hano. Have you been able to talk to your husband at all, Ms. Walker?
Yes,
He knows you're in custody.
yes,
And does he work outside the home?
yes.
What kind of job does he have?
He does tool and die.
Tool and die?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been diagnosed with any kind of mental health disorder?
No.
Never had any mental health disorder that anyone told you?
Well, I mean,
Not on any-
ADHD.
Okay, well, that's fairly
But-
common. Any medical help that you get,
No.
medication?
No.
Hold on, sir, you don't have to leave. You might be in the right place. Just hang on a second. Okay, so you're not on any medication or anything, seeing a doctor now?
Well, I have a primary care provider.
Well, hopefully, I'm glad you do. Well, they're not recommending a PR bond. Just wait right there. Just stay right there. Just go back in the chair and I'll get you. Okay, so my inquiry is, normally when you've got stuff like this happening, this is a bigger fish in your frying pan because this is a possession of a drug charge, you know? And what I'm saying is, I'm gonna make the bond a $5,000, 10%. $5,000, 10% means $500. We enter a plea of not guilty for you. This case is completely separate from your Newaygo County case, but you should talk to the attorney in Newaygo County about this. Your next appointment is October 28th,
Okay.
10:15 in the morning, and you'll be zooming in. We'll send notice to you at your address on 136th, West 136th, so that you know how to connect with us. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. That's it for right now.
Thank you.
Sir, just tell me your last name.
Bergen.
Tubergen.
Correct.
First name?
David.
Give me a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Good Judge, I think that's it. You and I.
I was wondering if a William Jones was there.
I haven't seen anything on a.
Just fell asleep. Mr. Jones.
Okay.
Did I stop? Yes.
Mr. William Jones? I'm Judge Sara Smolenski. Don't know if you're having kind of a sleepy day today or what. You've had to wait a while. The case I have with you goes back to 2019. It was a shoplifting case at the Meyer in Gaines Township. And what you do is you owe $580 on that old case, Mr. Jones. Are you in custody on anything else right now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Nothing else you're in jail on, just this case.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you go to jail?
Yesterday or this morning? Yesterday.
Yesterday? And you just got picked up out of the blue?
Yeah, I was somewhere, I guess they asked for ID, and then, my ID said that I had a warrant.
Yeah, warrant. Okay, and deputy, you're not showing any other business with Mr. Jones?
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Jones, do you have any explanation on how you've let it go to not take care of the shoplifting case from Meyer?
Plainly just forgot about it, ma'am.
Okay, it happens. So the $580 is what you owe. They'll let you use the phone. You call whoever you can. Are you working at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So it's $580 or 11 days. They'll have you stay at the jail for around 11 days. If you can come up with the money or part of it, they'll let you out sooner. Okay, that's all I have for you, Mr. Jones. That'll end your case with us. That'll be the end of it.
All right.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tibergen, you need to go to the magistrate's courtroom downstairs. It's in the corner of the building. The deputy will show you. Yep.
Okay, this way.
We'll send a message that you were up here. I think that's it, Mr. Hanel. If you're withdrawing from those cases, I'll grant the withdrawal.
I so move, Judge.